press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello students. So yesterday we had a discussion with respect to quantum numbers, and our topic is atomic structure. Today we are going to discuss about part 4. We discussed yesterday about the electronic configuration. How do we write electronic configuration? We discussed about above principle. We discussed about Horn's rule. We discussed about the energy concentrations of different orbitals. We talked about uni-electron system like hydrogen and multi-electron systems like helium, beryllium, boron, so on and so forth. So a bit of recap. I mentioned principal quantum number n value determines the whole energy of an electron in hydrogen atom. The most stable state of an electron in any atom indicates its ground state, and when you are giving energy and shifting electron from that most stable state to the next available state, we call those as excited states wherein electrons are unstable. Then we talked about the effective nuclear charge, which is felt by the electron in the valence shell, and I said mathematically Z effective equals to Z nuclear minus shielding, and mathematically we can calculate that shielding value as well. Today we are going to discuss the filling of electrons in various orbitals on the basis of above method, and we will discuss about Pauli's exclusion principle. And then we will have a discussion on the applications of quantum numbers, how to use exactly quantum numbers for finding out the electrons availability in various regions respectively. Clear? Okay, so the first part which we discussed yesterday was above method. In that I said there are two rules, n rule and n plus l rule. Regarding n rule, what did I say? Minimum n electron will be going there first. If n is same, then minimum n plus l electrons will be going in minimum n plus l value. Clear? So I gave various examples yesterday like 2s, 2p. Then n is same, electron will go in 2s compared to 2p. Now with respect to that, keeping that in mind, how to write electronic configuration of various elements, leaving some exceptions aside. I'll discuss the exceptional cases, exceptional electronic configuration cases as well today with respect to our atoms. Okay, children? Right. So let us have a look on the basis of above method. We have up-Bose chart, and with the help of this up-Bose chart, we will be in a position to write electronic configuration of any element, whichever we want to write out. So Horn's rule has to be kept in mind, n rule has to be kept in mind, and n plus l rule has to be kept in mind as well. Okay. Now above chart, what I will do is, we have mentioned yesterday, I will write down different orbitals, that is subshells, which are available to us. That is 1s, then you have 2s, then you have 3s, then you got 4s, then you have 5s, then you have 6s, and then you got 7s. I have written all the periods present in a periodic table. So principal quantum number 1 has come, and each principal quantum number will have s subshell, that also I have mentioned over here. Clear? Then with 2s we have the availability of 2p. Now here one thing should be written carefully. This is a graph which determines energy. If you are moving from top to bottom, it's a representative of energy. Now if you are writing 2s and 2p in the same region on the graph, then the energy of 2s and 2p should be same. But we know, according to n plus l rules, 2s and 2p energies are varying. Energy of 2s is less than the energy of 2p. We know that according to n plus l, it will be, what's n value? 2 plus 0. For this n plus l will be 2 plus 1. So for this it is 2, and for this it is 3. Naturally energy of 2s is less than 2p. So we cannot write it in this fashion actually. But when you are filling electrons in various shells, I will write down the arrangement of electron filling in various shells varyingly, so that this graph comes exactly to the point. Clear? There is one more way to draw the graph that I am not going to draw now. So we got 2s and 2p. With 3s we have what? 3p. Then we got 3d. So I will write P for all. principal quantum number 1 does not have the availability of P, because in N1 P is not possible. Yes or no? Because that mathematical value will not give us the solution of the equation. Which equation? We call that a Schrodinger's wave equation. We'll discuss that as well in detail. 4s. Then you got 3p. We have then 4p. Then you have 5p. Then you have 6p. Then you have 7p. Now we have D, 3d. Then you got 4d. Then you have 5d. Then you have 6d. Then you have 7d. Am I clear? Then with principal quantum number 4, we have SPD, and then you have F also. Because children, we know when n value equals to 4, what are L values? 0, 1, 2, 3. That is S, P, D, F. We learned it yesterday. So with principal quantum number 4, you have S, P, D, and F. So we'll have 4F, then you will have 5F, then you will have 6F, then you will have 7F. This is how the chart comes into play with respect to electronic configurations. So I have written 1s, 2s, S has come, P has come, D has come, F has come. So if you further want to extend it, G will also come. In 5, G will come. In 6, H will come. In 7, I will come, so on and so forth. Is it clear? Right. Now when you are filling electrons in these shells, first of all, using above method, where will the electron go first? Say, if you have the atom like hydrogen, electronic configuration is 1s1. This is how from quantum numbers it comes into play. So first electron will go in 1s, clear or not? Then electron will be going in 2s, clear or not? Then electron will be going in 2p followed by 3s, clear? Then electron will be going in 3p followed by 4s. Then you got 3d, then 4p, then 5s, clear? Then the electron will enter into 4d, then 5p, then 6s, so on and so forth. Then 4f, 5d, 6p, 7s, then 5f, 6d, 7p, then 6f, 7d, then 7f, so on and so forth. This is called as above chart. So according to this, you can write electronic configuration of any element. Suppose we have chlorine. What's the atomic number? 17. So write down the electronic configuration according to this. It will be 1s2, 2s2, then 2p6, then 3s2, then 3p. Should have 6 electrons. But for 17, it will be 3p5. So you are rating the electronic configuration of chlorine, hydrogen. Even you can write for 3p, if it is 3p6, it will be argon. Oh, clear? So for suppose atomic number 19 you have to write, which is potassium. So look here, hydrogen, lithium, sodium, this will be potassium. Are you getting it or not? Because outermost electron goes in 4s for potassium. So what will be electronic configuration? Say for neon, for argon, what is electronic configuration for us children? It will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. This is argon electronic configuration. So we got 3p6. After that, electron is entering into 4s. What is the atomic number that we have? It's 19. So 18 electrons are filled up to 3p. The next electron will be 4s1. This will be for which one? Potassium. So for potassium, atomic number 19, you can directly write what? Argon. Internal core of argon will be repeated again, and then you will have the outermost 4s1. For which one? Potassium. S can accommodate how many electrons? 2. So you have alkali metal and alkaline earth metal. In 3s, if you look in 3s, have a look here children, you got sodium and you got magnesium. Atomic number 11, atomic number 12. Have a look, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. The same electronic configuration, then 3s2. So 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 is the electronic configuration of which element? Neon. Neon atomic number is 10. It will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. So we can write, instead of this, we can write neon. So we can write neon core with the atomic number 10, means 10 electrons will be going, neon core and 3s2. This is what electronic configuration is. 3s1, 3s2, alkali metals and alkaline earth metals. If the outermost electron is entering into P, it's a P block element. So P can accommodate how many electrons? 6. Have a look. P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6. So what are the families? You got boron, you got carbon, you got nitrogen, you have oxygen, you have fluorine, and you have neon. This is where electrons will be going. Similar way, it is 2p, then 3p, it's coming down 4p, further down 5p, further down 6p, further down. So this electronic configuration should be understood. After 4s electron is entering into D. Now there are two important cases that I am going to discuss here with respect to electronic configurations when electrons entering into D, right? So have a proper look on this, children. So atomic number 21, which element? It is scandium. You can try on your books, children, to write electronic configuration of various elements. I am using N rule, N plus L rule, because above chart will give you the sum of both rules, that is N rule and N plus L rule. Both things will be coming into play in above chart. Okay, scandium atomic number is 21. Because atomic number is 21, I can mention that argon, core, argon has how many electrons? 18. So I will mention argon. Okay, so 18 electrons have come. Yes. How many further left out? So 18. It is 21. Then next electron will enter into 4s2. Then you will have 3d1. Have a look. 4s2, 3d1. Now D, as we know, has how many orbitals, children? We learned yesterday. D subshell has how many orbitals? 5. And it can accommodate how many electrons on the whole? 10. So D can accommodate total of 10 electrons. That's why when you look on the elements of transition series, that is between alkali metals, that is between S block elements and P block elements, we have transition metal elements. There are 10 groups present there. Yes. So we have D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, because we know, children, when we move from left to right in periodic table, atomic number increases by 1. When I say atomic number is increasing by 1, what do I mean to say is that number of electrons and number of protons in each element is proceeding and exceeding by 1. Correct or not? Clear? So argon 4s2 3d1, it's fine. Then scandium, after that you have titanium, atomic number is 22. It should be simple. Again you got argon, then you have 4s2 because S can accommodate only 2. Then you will have 3d2. Clear? Now I will mention here D. D has how many orbitals here, children? It has 5 orbitals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4s2, D1, D2. So here it is 3d1. I'll mention 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I will mention only 1 electron here. Clear? So you got titanium. Then you got vanadium, atomic number 23. This is important, you need to understand. So you have argon again. Then 4s2 will remain as such, but how many will be in D? So here it is 3d2, here it is 3d1. So what do you expect here? 3d3. So it will be 3d3. So 1 clockwise, 1 electron clockwise, 1 electron clockwise. Now all of you should understand why I am giving single electron. I discussed it yesterday according to Hund's rule. When you because all d orbitals are what? Degenerate. Because all d orbitals are degenerate, you cannot fill one with 2 and one with 1. No, you have to give single electron. Pairing in the degenerate orbitals will not occur unless all are singly occupied. That's what we are doing here. So you got 4s2, 1, 1, 1. Then we have a case, and that case is very important. The case of chromium. We will discuss that case here, children. Did you understand the chart clearly? And did you understand the electronic configurations here? Right. Because I need chart, so I will be rubbing off this electronic configuration that I have written so far. Clear? Now we are into chromium case. What's the atomic number of chromium? 24. Okay, now I have chromium here. So chromium Cr atomic number is 24. Now as usual I will write argon. So how many electrons are over? 18. Then you have electronic configuration of 4s2 actual. Then 3d4. So 3d should be 4. So I will draw that 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now 1 electron here, 1 electron here, 1 electron here, all are clockwise, 1 electron here in different orbitals, dxy, dxz, dyz, dx square, y square and dz square. Yesterday I told you those orbitals, how exactly those orbitals look like, double dumbbell shape, except dz orbital, all are of double shape in between the plane and on the plane. Correct. Now this is the electronic configuration that we are expecting. But when you calculate the magnetic moment, and how do you find out the magnetic moment? Magnetic moment mu of any element equals to root of n into n plus 2 Bm. Bm is the unit of magnetic moment. We call that as Bohr magnetons. Bohr magnetons. And this n stands for the number of unpaired electrons. According to logic, the number of unpaired electrons are 4, and we expect the magnetic moment due to the 4 electrons. So magnetic moment of chromium should be root of number of unpaired electrons 4 into 4 plus 2. That makes it root 24. 4 point some value, close to that. So Bohr magnetons. But when you are calculating the magnetic moment of this chromium, it is different compared to that root 24. It is more than root 24, indicating the number of unpaired electrons are more than 4. Now, how do we exactly explain the case here? Look here, children. In this chromium case, we have got electronic configuration of 4s2. It is filled, completely filled s orbital, so it is very stable. And in D, you got 4. You tell me, if D has 4 electrons, is it stable or unstable? Naturally unstable. Because if you have learnt in chemical bonding very properly, actual stability of an atom is according to 2n square. Any atom, in its outermost shell or in its shell, if it has electrons according to 2n square formula, it will not react. It will never combine. Because combination, that is reaction, is done for the purpose of stability. For the loss and gain of electrons occurs for stability. Stability of what? 2n square. If according to quantum numbers we learned, an atom has 2n square number of electrons, there is no question for the atom to react itself. So first rule is that atom is stable by 2n square. So if an atom has 2n square number of electrons, it's extremely stable and reaction is not possible with these atoms at all. Then the second rule which we say is octet, which is condition based. If the outermost electron is going in S and P, like for p block elements, valence shell remains the same. That's principal quantum number for S and P remains the same. S can accommodate 2 electrons and P can accommodate 6 electrons, total 8. Octet stability is applicable only when the outermost electron is going in S and P, not always. Let me give you a case here. D can accommodate total of how many electrons, children? 10, very good. If I say D8 is there instead of D10, which one of the two will be more stable for you? D8 or D10? Naturally D10, because it's fully filled. Not D8, although octet is there. 8 electrons are there. So octet applicability is for S and P electrons. Clear? Now, if octet is not possible as well, then an atom should try to have half-filled electrons, half-filled. So D can have how many total? 10. If it has 5, it's very stable. Now, D now has how many? 4. If it has one more electron in this D, it will become D5, it will become stable for that. Now have a look. Energy difference between 4s and 3d is very small, because anyhow these orbitals, these subshells are far from nucleus. They are not very close to nucleus. They are far from nucleus, and I said during my first discussion, when you keep going away from the nucleus, the lines will start to converge. That is, shells will start to converge. The energy diagrams or the energy levels, energy states will be closer and closer to each other, so that energy difference between the two is very less. So there is a definite chance that S electron can be shifted into D. Now why it will happen is, Because if S shifts an electron to D, it becomes 4s1 and D becomes 3d5. Clear or not? It becomes half filled, so it is stable. It becomes 4s1, it's also half filled, so it is also stable. A while earlier it was stable, but this was unstable. So stability plus instability will bring some instability only. However, stability plus stability of the two subshells will bring you stability itself. Thus, the electron shift is from S to D. Now, D has how many electrons? 5. S got how many electrons? 1. Now, D, because D is more stable compared to 4s now. Having 5 electrons, nuclear pull on this will be more compared to 4s. So what happens is D comes in. It's not D is coming in. Actually, the average distance of D from the nucleus becomes less compared to 4s. So electronic configuration becomes 3d5 and 4s1. Thus, this is the reason why for transition elements, that is D block elements, D block elements, we are writing electronic configuration as NS1 to 2. Because if you have seen a while earlier, I have showed you S can have 2 electrons, but in this case S is having how many electrons? 1. So NS1 to 2, then it is 3 now, 4. So it will be N minus 1 D1 to 10 electrons. This is the general electronic configuration of transition elements. Did you get the point or not? Now have a look on electronic configuration. It should be 4s then 3d. Most of the cases are 4s and 3d. Yes or no? But you can have a look on D. D being more stable compared to S. D is on the inside, S is on the average distance I am talking about. So 3d5, 4s1 is the electronic configuration of which one? Chromium. This is according to what? Extra stability, because D5 and D4, have a look about the exchanges, children. It is symmetrically filled now or not? Yes, so it is stable. Number 2, exchanges. If it is D4, how many exchanges are possible? Let us see. Actual formula can also be used, n divided by n into n minus 2. So I will not use these shortcuts by now for calculating it out. So how many unpaired electrons you have here? 4. Now tell me how many exchanges possible. Have a look. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is 1. Then again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many exchanges here? 1, 2, 3. So in this case there are 3 exchanges. Now let us see electron number 2. How many exchanges possible for it? 1 and 2. So there are 2 exchanges possible. Correct or not? So here it will be 2 exchanges. What about this one? How many exchanges possible? 1. So total number of exchanges 3 plus 2 plus 1, 6 exchanges. Let us now see if it is D5. So 1, 2, 3, clockwise direction I am showing, 4, 5. Let us see how many exchanges. Have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. So first one is 4. Then electron number 2, how many exchanges? 1, 2, 3. Now electron number 3, how many exchanges? 1. I'll write down here. 1, 2. So how many exchanges then? 2. Then electron number 4, how many exchanges? 1. 4 plus 3, 7 plus 2 plus 1. Total how many exchanges? 10. So which one is more stabilizing? D4 or D5? D5 is more stabilizing because of exchange energy and because of symmetric filling as well. Thus the electronic configuration of chromium does not remain 4s2 and 3d5. What does it become? It becomes 3d5 and 4s1. Same rule is applicable to which one? Copper. You want to see that, children, as well? Have a look. Did you understand this concept clearly? Yes. Let us see what about copper. So how to calculate the magnetic moment? So how many unpaired electrons you have there now? 5. So what is the magnetic moment you are calculating actually now? Earlier it was coming root 24, but there are how many unpaired electrons? 5. So what will be magnetic moment of chromium? Actually equal to root of n into n plus 2 Bohr magnetons. So that will be root of, what is the number of unpaired electrons you got a while earlier now? 5 into 5 plus 2 Bohr magnetons, that is technically root 35 Bohr magnetons. Am I clear here? Yes. So I am taking only D into consideration. So because of D only it is more S, there will be one more unpaired electron here. Am I clear here? This is the reason why the calculated magnetic moment and actual magnetic moment will differ in chromium. Now let's have a look on copper. So all the elements which are present in chromium group will exhibit a similar properties. Clear? Now let us see the next one. Atomic number is 29 for copper. So electronic configuration should be, children, argon. Hope you are understanding. Argon means 18. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. Argon over. Then you will have 4s2, 3d9. It should be the actual basic electronic configuration. But children, we know if D gain is one more, it will be stable or not? Yes, it will have D10. Thus the actual electronic configuration is argon 4s1, 3d10. So have a look here. S can accommodate either 1 or 2 and D can have electrons from 1 to 10. Did you follow the point or not? So argon will have copper will have argon 3d10, 4s1. And whatever the elements are present in this group, they will exhibit the similar properties. Did you follow the generalization here for filling the electronic configuration, children? Clearly? Very good. Now you can try electronic configuration using this above chart. So you keep this above chart in mind, and whenever you are writing electronic configuration of elements, make use of this above chart to write electronic configuration. So what does electronic configuration mean? Arrangement of electrons in various shells on the basis of their energies. And what are the rules for filling it? So what are the rules I mentioned? I mentioned above method, which has two rules, n and n plus L rule. Then I mentioned Hund's rule. Then one more rule which I said yesterday. What was it? Pauli's exclusion principle. And what's the statement of Pauli's exclusion principle? What does it state? It states that no two electrons in an atom can have set of all four quantum numbers same. So Pauli's principle. Pauli's exclusion principle. Pauli's exclusion principle. It states any two electrons, I mentioned yesterday. If you take any two electrons, what do quantum numbers do? They quantify it. They clear it out, they quantify it out, they differentiate it out. If two electrons in an atom are having same set of quantum numbers, then obviously it means what? It means that the two electrons cannot be differentiated from each other. Let me give one example here, children, as I have written a while earlier. Tell me what is the electronic configuration of sodium, Na11, electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6 and 3s1. Okay. It's one electron. Yes, I will make it magnesium. Atomic number is 12 and I'll write it 3s2 here. I want to write the set of quantum numbers for this 3s2 electron. S can accommodate 2 electrons, there are 2 electrons. So I want to write the set of quantum numbers for these 2 electrons which are present in 3s. Have a look. So for 3s2, if I write n value, what will be n value here? That means principal quantum number. So n value will be 3. Yes. What is L value? There are 3 L values. 0, 1, 2. But electron is in S subshell. That means which of these represents S? 0. So 0 will be applicable to it, not 1, not 2. So n will be 3, L will be 0. When L is 0, what is the value of M? Again 0. So these 3 quantum numbers are same for these 2 electrons. I said a while earlier, no 2 electrons in an atom can have set of all 4 quantum numbers same. But I am writing n equals to 3 for both of these electrons, L equals to 0 for both of these electrons, M equals to 0 for both of these electrons. Then Pauli's principle is not followed till now. Then the 4th quantum number has to be different what I mentioned. So what will be spin quantum number? It is plus half minus half. So is spin quantum number same or different for these two electrons? It's not same, it is different. This is what Pauli's principle states. Once we are done with the applications of quantum numbers, you will get the more clearance how exactly I got these values here. Am I clear with the thought here, children? Am I clear? Excellent. So these are the concepts behind quantum numbers and what are different parameters given by quantum numbers. Then we talked about the energy levels of different atoms, energy diagrams of different atoms. Then we talked about filling of electrons in various shells. Now I will show you for a multi-electron system. You can have a look on this chart itself, and from this chart only you will understand the difference between energy diagrams for hydrogen and other atoms. So for hydrogen, remember the energy of 1s is less than 2s, which is equal to 2p. I mentioned yesterday that it is the principal quantum number only, that is the distance of electron from the nucleus in hydrogen, that decides the energy. What's the reason for that? I said that there are no inter-electronic repulsions existing in hydrogen. The only force existing in hydrogen is electrostatic force between proton, that's nucleus, and the electron. No repulsion existing between the electrons at all. So energy will be decided primarily, importantly, and only on the basis of what value? N value. So if electron is going far from the nucleus, then what does it mean? Energy will keep on changing. Now S and P doesn't matter. Although the shapes of S and P are varying, energy will only vary in S and P when there are repulsions existing. It doesn't matter. Principal quantum number is same, that means energy will be same. In case of uni-electron system like hydrogen, like helium plus, like lithium 2 plus. Correct? Now according to above chart, because we have usually multi-electron systems, so according to above chart you can write electronic configuration and you can draw what? Energy diagrams as well. So how will the energy diagrams look like according to above chart? That's I'm going to draw now. So two energy diagrams I'll draw. One for a uni-electron system and other for multi-electron system. Am I clear, children? So have a look. I'm keeping this above chart as such, so you can have a regular look on this carefully. Clear, children? So you understood? There is nothing like exceptional cases of chromium family and copper family. These are not exceptional cases. These are all in according, because most of the time is will be said these are exceptional cases. No, they are not exceptional cases. They are the stability cases. Because of stability, these things are happening within copper and chromium families. And there can be other elements as well. Okay. So first of all, I will draw an energy level diagram for hydrogen atom. Okay. According to this chart only I'll draw. Here energy is increasing from top to bottom. Here I am going to draw it differently. So this is energy and this is increasing atomic number here for us. Right. So we'll draw this energy level will contain 1s. Then here 2s and 2p. Of same energy. Then 3s, 3p, 3s, 3p and 3d of same energy. Then you have 4s, 4p, 4d and 4f of same energy in the atoms like hydrogen. This is the electronic arrangement. This is the energy level diagram for. So this is for n value 4, this is for n value 3, this is for n value 2 and this will be for n value 1. Is it clear? This is for a uni-electron system. However, when you look on a multi-electron system, so this is uni-electron like hydrogen. So if it is multi-electron, then I will draw the same diagram, same energy growth profile for us. Then what will have a look. So you have 1s, then you got 2s and 2p. So this is 2s, this is 2p. Clear or not? Then you got 3s, 3p, 3d. Energy is altering or not? Then you got 3s, 3p and 3d. But before 3D, have a look here. Before 3D, what comes? 4s. So we'll have 4s here. Then we'll have 3D here. So according to that, you can keep drawing energy level diagram. So they won't be similar. Like 1s, 2s, 2p. This is 3s. This is 3p. This is 4s. This is 3D. Then energy will keep on 4p, 5s, so on and so forth. Did you understand the energy level diagram clearly? Am I clear with the thought here, everyone? Right. So you need to have a look on these topics carefully and understand the energy considerations of different atoms. Okay. So now we are moving in to one extremely important part of this. So far we have done an integrated applications of quantum numbers and many other things itself. Now we are into the discussion how to apply whatever we have learned so far when the questions with respect to our competitive exams will come. With respect to our NEET and JEE exams will come. Above chart, you should keep it in mind. So first of all, children, we will do some examples wherein I want all of you first to understand the notations according to quantum numbers. If the quantum numbers are given, what are the subshells or what are the orbitals they are representing? And then we will move into further applications. First, we'll understand the notations. So we have applications of quantum numbers, Abbaugh method, Hund's rule, Pauli's method, and energy considerations. So many examples we'll do on the basis of this. Correct, children? Yes. Let us start. So our question is here. For how many orbitals the following are applicable? Read the question. For how many orbitals the following are applicable? What? First one, shell with n value equal to 3. Second, subshell with L value equal to 3. And third, orbital with m value equal to plus 3. Orbital with m value equal to plus 3. This should be understood. Now children, according to this question, I have given shell with n value equal to 3. Our question is, this n value 3 is applicable to how many orbitals in an atom? We have learnt it. What was that? If principal quantum number is n, number of subshells will also be n, number of orbitals will be n square, number of electrons will be 2n square. Am I clear here or not? Very good. Now our question is how many orbitals? Shell value with n equals to 3. So when n value equals to 3, it is applicable to n square, that means 9 orbitals. So correct answer will be 9 orbitals. Want to find that out how? Yes, let's have a look. What is n value? 3. So when n value equals to 3, what are the values of L? 0, 1, 2. We know it, 0 to n minus 1. Okay, so this represents the subshell. How many orbitals? When L is 0, how many values of m? 0. When L is 1, how many values? minus 1, 0, plus 1. When L is 2, how many values of M? Minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2. We have said yesterday also, each value of magnetic quantum number represents one orbital. So how many orbitals are available here? 5, and here 3, 5 plus 3, 8, plus 1, 9. So this is applicable to how many orbitals? 9 orbitals. So correct option is 9 orbitals. If you are asked number of electrons, naturally, because we have 9 orbitals, number of electrons will be 2n square, right? So, or 9 orbitals means each orbital can accommodate 2 electrons, that is 18 electrons. But that's not asked, just generalize it, the idea here. Very good. So, subshell with L value equals to 3. So, we have a subshell with L value equals to 3. Now, I have to find out the number of orbitals associated with this, right? So, children, when L value equals to 3, how do you find out the number of orbitals associated with that subshell? On the basis of M value. So, how do you find out M? Minus L, throw 0 to minus L, throw 0 to plus L, or other formula is 2L plus 1. So, what is L value here? 3. So, that will make it 2 into 3 plus 1. That will make it 7. You can have a look here also. M will be what? Minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2 and plus 3. Total how many values you got? 7. So subshell with L value equals to 3 is applicable to how many orbitals? 7 orbitals. Am I clear with the thought here? Excellent. And third one, orbital with M value equals to plus 3. So already the value given to you is plus 3. So it is already M value. M itself indicates what? Orbital. So how many values are given? Only one value. That's applicable to how many orbitals? One orbital. That's here, plus 3. Did you understand it or not? Clearly? Very good. So the value of orbitals with M value plus 3, it's applicable to how many orbitals? 1. If the question was like this, fourth was electrons with M value equal to plus 3. So when M value is plus 3, that means how many orbitals are mentioned to you? 1. And each orbital can accommodate how many electrons? 2. So the correct option will be 2 electrons. I hope you are getting the points clearly. Did you understand the problem? So, for how many orbitals the following are applicable? Shell with N3, subshell with L value 3, orbital M with plus 3, and electrons which I just added up towards the end. Right, children? Next question. Okay. We have to represent the following by their orbital notations. Say, first one, N value 3, L value 1, second one. N value 4, L value 4, third one. N value 5, L value 3, fourth one. N value 6, L value 0, fifth one. N value 4 and L value 2. So you have to represent these by orbital notations. What are the values given to you? The values given to you are the values N and L values are given to you. Am I clear? N and L values. Fine. Let us solve these out here. So first one. What is N value? 3. So it will be 3. Principal quantum number is 3. What is L value? 1. Okay. Let us see here. When N value is 3, L value will be 0, 1 and 2. L value mentioned to you is 1. That means which subshell? P. This means S. This means which subshell? D. But it is mentioned to you L value is 1. When L is 1, it means P. So we are talking about principal quantum number 3 with P subshell. So we are talking about 3P subshell. Am I clear here? Good. If one magnetic quantum number is also added, then we will be talking about one orbital. That we will see in our applications further. N is 4, L is 4. Let us see this. What was the shortest application method that I taught you yesterday? What I taught you yesterday was N is always more than L. and L can be more than or equal to M. Revive the topics, children. I have mentioned it clearly in quantum numbers that N more than L and L more than or equal to M. Yes. So here N more than L. N is always more than L. According to this, N is 4. L is also 4. So is it applicable or not applicable? Not applicable. You will say, sir, we cannot represent any electron. We cannot represent any subcellular orbital by this because L value cannot be equal to N. It's not possible. So this is not permitted in quantum numbers. Because in your competitive exams, you may have questions, which of the following set of quantum numbers is not allowed? Which of the following quantum numbers is not permitted? So this is not allowed, this is not permitted. Is it clear? So N4, L4, not allowed, not permitted. Done. Very good. Next one, N5, L3. Okay. So third one, what is N value? Here, N value is 5. Good. L value will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But given is 3. So S, P, D, F, G. L is 3. That means F. So we are talking about principal quantum number 5, F. Fourth one, it should be easier, children. What is N value? 6. Fourth one. N is 6. What is L value? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correct or not? So L mentioned to you is 0. That means S. So technically you are talking about 6S. So fourth one will be 6S. What about fifth one? N is 4. N equals to 4. What are the possible values of L? 0, 1, 2, 3. Correct or not? What's L value mentioned? 2. That means D. So it will be 4D. Which one? Fifth one will be 4D. Have a proper look on this and understand it carefully, children. So these are notations. Reverse is also true. What I mean to say by that? I mean to say, if you have been given the orbital notations from there and you are asked to write the quantum numbers, it should be easier for you now. Clear or not? So the only thing that you have to keep it in mind is whether you are talking about L value or you are talking about M value. Because if you are talking about M value, technically you are talking about one orbital. And if you are talking about N value, then you are, L value, then you are talking about the subshell. So that subshell in presence of electric and magnetic field takes various orientations, and each orientation is one orbital which can accommodate maximum of 2 electrons. And each principal quantum number represents one orbit which can accommodate total of how many electrons? 2n square number of electrons. Clear or not? Excellent. Let us write down one more question. So keep a proper track of these things. Extremely important for your competitive exams, children. Good. Okay. So let us solve one more question. Application wise, you have understood the energy wise, you have understood it, how to find out the energy with respect to different atoms. So we have third question. Which has more energy? 3s, 2s, 2p, 3p, and 1s. So we have been given which has more energy, or you can say like that, which has more energy, and arrange these in increasing order of energies. So we will solve the second part, that is increasing order of energies first. Automatically we can come to know which has the highest energy. Now, this is not a direct question. You have applications behind it. What is that? Energy of an atom is decided by principal quantum number. We know it. Now the best way to solve this question will be, we will look on these with the highest principal quantum numbers. Now highest principal quantum number for us is here 3s and 3p. This is highest principal quantum number. So naturally either 3s or 3p will have the highest energy. There is no doubt in that at all. Because 2 and 1 cannot have higher energies than 3, because shell is far from nucleus and reactivity will be more. Is it clear, children? Are you following what I am saying? Right. So 3s and 3p, n value here is 3 and n value here also is 3. Principal quantum number is same or not? So what will work here? We will have above method working, and in that we have n rule. N is same or not? So it doesn't help. And the second rule is n plus L rule. Will it help or not? Definitely it will help. What is n value here? 3. Okay, what is L value, children? For S, what is L? 0. Oh, correct or not? Oh, because when n is 3, L will be 0 to n minus 1. L will be 0, 1 and 2, correct? So L value 0 means which one? S. This means P. This is D. Remember, if you want to get it in order, it is S, P, D, F, G. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to understand it other way also, just a simple, so that you can keep it in mind. When S, why we are giving S as a 0 value also is, inside S of that particular principal quantum number, there is no existence of any shell from that principal quantum number. I'm not mentioning that there is no shell behind S, means on the inside, means inner to S there is no shell. No, I am saying for that principal quantum number, say, I will say 2s and 2p. For this principal quantum number, from the same principal quantum number 2, on the inside there is no further shell, so the value is 0. But we know we have 1s, but that principal quantum number is different. Behind 2s, inner to 2s, in between nucleus and 2s, there is 1s. But it is principal quantum number is different. Is it clear? So from principal quantum number 2, inside there is nothing. Suppose 3s, 3p, 3d. From principal quantum number 3, there is no further subshell of that principal quantum number. But there is definitely 2s and 2p available inside to it. I may be complicated in between. Competitive exams are all about that only. You need to comprehend a concept so that things become very easier. Correct, children? So L value 0. I'll write down 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, S, P, D, F, G. Not with n value 3 here. I'm just generalizing it out. Clear? Okay, what is n here? 3. Now, L value here P. For P, what is L value? 1. Okay, now it will be total sum of energies 3. Here it will be 4. So which has less energy? 3s has less energy than 3p. So children, the first part of the question, highest energy is available for which one? 3p. Even if you go in above chart, you will understand that indeed it is 3p only with the highest energy. Clear? Excellent. Next. Okay, so energy wise, 3s and 3p, they were highest. Out of 3s and 3p, 3p is highest. So energy will be, energy of 3s is less than energy of 3p. This is done. Now you have got 1s, then you got 2s, then you got 2p. 1s, 2s and 2p. Which one has the lowest principal quantum number? 1. It is 2 and 2. So this we have to relate. But principal quantum number 1 is lowest. So the least energy will be for which one? So energy of 1s is less. Now you have 2s and 2p. Rule comes the same. So 2s and 2p. N value same. L value 0. L value 1. So we have for 2s, n plus L will be 2 plus 0, that is 2. For 2p, n plus L will be 2 plus 1, that is 3. So we can write down energy of 2s is less than energy of 2p which is less than 3s which is less than 3p. So this is according to the electronic configuration, 1s less than, 2s less than, 2p less than, 3s less than, 3p respectively. Am I clear? Am I clear or not here, children? Right. So we will, you understood certain examples, general examples we have taken into consideration. Now we will be having a discussion in our next class, children, with respect to quantum numbers and their available sets and permitted sets with respect to different atoms and electrons. Thank you, children.